Hello, this is Bonnie and welcome back. Today I am going to be showing you how to add your little fairy letter to a easel card. This is the easel card that we will be working on. And that's what it will look like when you're finished. And so what we're going to be working on is the cover and on the inside and then putting it together. So in order to do that, some of the supplies that I have, and I showed you this yesterday also, is I have Fairy Hugs Fifi, and we use this and we use Fifi in this project. And then I have the Dandelion like I used on the letter. I'm going to be using the full Dandelion. I am going to still be using Fairy Hugs Stencil, which is Swirls. I am using 2 pieces of digital cardstock that's exactly the same, and it measures 5.4 because I wanted it to be just under 5.5 inches. I am also going to be using, and this will probably get cut back, this is a 6x6 card, and when you make an easel card, it's obviously 12 inches, and you score it in half, and then just the cover, you score it in half again, and that makes your easel. So that's what you're going to be needing to start this project. And so the first thing I do is I'm going to just take one of these and I'm going to start stamping it. I'm going to go ahead and get that set up in the stamping platform. Okay, so I have my platform set up, and I want Fifi to be able to sit on the Dandelion, and I also want this letter to be off to the side. So I'm trying to make sure I have enough space for everything, and that should work really well. And I'm just going to go ahead and put the Dandelion on there. And what I'm doing, what I'm doing with the Dandelion is just like I did for the letter yesterday, as I'm stamping it with VersaFine Clear Morning Mist. And then what I will do is I will heat emboss the bloom, if you want to call that the bloom of the Dandelion, with some embossing powder. But I want to make sure I got that on there. Yep, it needs to go again. I can see I'm going to be needing to add more ink refill to my morning mist. Okay, let's go ahead and get that stamped again. Get that in the picture. All right, so that's going to work out really well. And then I cannot stamp Fifi until I get that embossed, but I can put the other stamping up at the top. So I'm going to do that really quickly, and then I'm going to go ahead and heat emboss the Dandelion at the bottom. All right. This just balances out by having the Dandelion up at the top. It totally balances everything out when you go and look at the card. If you look at the card like this, you can see how that balances it out. When it's open like this, you can't tell. But what's kind of cool is that you can see on the back there's still a design. So that's kind of cool. So, and I'm just basically centering it like that. And I think I'm going to put a little bit of washi tape up there. And, whoops. Magnets like to go together. I don't want to wait too long because I want the embossing powder to still be wet. Or not the embossing powder, the ink, so I can put the embossing powder on. Okay. right, that's really good. So I'm going to go ahead and get that embossed, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now we're going to position Fifi on here and get her all set. And again, I'm going to show you how I'm going to be putting the letter is going to go right there. So I'm going to go ahead and get her set up. And the reason I use the Morning Mist for the Dandelion is because it Fifi tends to, or any of the stamps, tend to sit on top of a lighter color better than the other way around. They could all be the same, but then you're going to lose some detail to the bottom of Fifi and anything that you would do that to. So I've started to do it that way from now on, and then I'm going to come back in and color. I'm going to color in with colored pencil to give that some color. And it's easier to color on top of a lighter color than a darker color. It just depends on what the look is that you're going for. So now I'm going to be using, like I said, VersaFine Clear Nocturne. Make sure I might have to do this twice. And I'm just stamping on top of cardstock digital paper, so I usually don't have to wait as long. Okay, that's pretty good. There's just a tad of fuzzy there that I want to have a little bit more solid. Okay, that's what I'm going for. So then the next thing, like I said, is I'm going to kind of position this on here. I'm not putting it on at the moment, but I'm positioning where about I want that. Because the next thing that I want to do is start adding the Fifi's little dandelions. And again, I'm going to show you my original. And you can just see how I want this to go flowing up this way. Now I'm going to end up cutting this in half. So I do have to be careful to make sure I leave in the half part, I don't put anything there. Not that it really matters, it could just be a part of it anyway. So that's going to go there. And basically I'm just going to be stamping this a couple of times. Now with this, I am using the Morning Mist. I decided to keep Fifi as the highlight and her focus and the letter. So it's fairly light. I think I'm going to go a little bit darker with that, but I like the detail. If I put too much ink, I don't get the detail. That's better. All right, so then I'm going to do one more. And like I said, it's going to be like the halfway mark. And that's usually, like you can see, I don't really quite have this centered, but it will go right here. Well, actually I want one really close to her, just above, so that'll go right there. Okay, you can measure that off. You know you're going to be cutting it in half. This is 5 and 0.4, so you'll have to figure out what the half of that is. One of the things that I am not is a great mathematician. I have to figure it out. I just don't know it regularly, or just automatically in my head like my husband does. Okay, so then the top part, I'm going to make it look like it's falling from this and actually going beyond it. So we're going to go like this. And I'll be honest with you, I think I did this last on my other card. Because I did also do some stenciling. And it might take away a little bit from the stenciling. Or this. When I do the stenciling, I might not see these as well. But we'll make it work. I'm going to make them kind of like, look like they're going in different directions from the wind. Now you probably could use just a little stamp you know, instead of using the platform if you wanted to. But this way it always allows me to add more ink if I want to. So in terms of stamping, that's all we need to do. The next thing we're going to do will be adding the stencil. All right, so I'm all set and ready to go. This is my stencil. And oh, I forgot to tell you too, when I go and do the embossing for the dandelion, again, I mentioned this in the video when we were making the letter, that I'm using embossing tinsel bridle. When I added the little, here, let me show you. You can see the sparkle. When I did that, and all I did was I just put it on the end when I embossed it. All right, back to doing the stenciling. I am using Selvage Patina, and technically you could use any color blue you want to, at least on this particular paper, but you can do whatever you want and how you want to add it. So I am going to be slightly careful because I did stamp, and I believe when I did my first one, I did the stencil and then I stamped. So I'll just be kind of careful around those. So I don't lose the definition. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so I want it there. And I also want it on this side. Now, whoops, the letter is going to cover up some of this, but it doesn't matter. We'll just have it on here. If we cover it up, we cover it up. This gives a little bit of your color, and I need more. Okay, that looks good. And come closer to the seeds. And there we have. That is what the cover is going to look like, other than adding the green pencil to the leaves, which we can do very quickly. I am using Prisma colored pencils. This is 909. It's called Grass Green. And you've seen me, if you've watched the videos before, you have seen me just color these in very quickly. You can take your time. And you could even add shading to yours if you'd like. Just what you want to do, but you don't need to. You can do the simple coloring and just color it in. And like I said, the lighter the color, it's almost like no line coloring, but it's not no line coloring. But it gives you that look. It almost gives like, I used to have pictures that my grandma made. She would hand color black and white photos. And just reminds me of that. All right. So we have that one colored in, and then we'll go ahead and do the top. I'm just going to flip that around so you can see better. It does help to have a little bit sharp pencil lid. Can get into those little corners a little bit, points a little bit easier. And just to let you know, if it bothers you that you color outside of the line with a pencil, because I'm coloring to the side because I have the camera in front of me, and so it's a little bit harder to see. But if you go to the line and that bothers you, you can erase some of that. There are erasers out there, and I'll show you because I can see a couple spots. They aren't significant, but just to show you what you can do. Let me get up there. Okay, so I have a couple different erasers. This one is actually a Prisma Magic Rub eraser, and I went over the line just a little bit there. And anytime you think the color even is too dark, you can just come back over with the eraser and lighten it up a little bit. It will, the color pretty much stays there, but it lightens it up so you can't really see it. Some of the parts going over. So there we go. Other than coloring in her wing, which I'm going to do, I wanted to show you that's what the cover looks like. The other thing that I do, and I guess I can do that right now just so that I can let it dry while we're doing the other part, is I am using, this is called Pentel Sparkle Pen, and I just put little silver, well it's silver, little dots, and it gives me a little bit of glitter shine for each one of the centers. And that's what you have. And then, like I said, this will go right there. So you can actually have a card just like this and not make it an easel card. It can just be like this and you'd be done. But because I am going to be working on an easel card like I had promised, I'm going to go ahead and do that and show you how I also do the inside. Now let me show you that a little bit closer. You can kind of see the sparkles. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and color her wings in. Well, I thought I'd go ahead and show you the coloring because I know lots of times people like to see the full way things are done. And I'm going to be using the Prismacolor pencil again, 1007. And this is my darker color. And I'm just going to randomly add some highlights to inside of this wing. It's really 2 wings, I believe, but they look as if it's 1. So I'm kind of treating it like it's 2 wings and just giving it some highlight. I'm really not following the lines a whole lot. I just wanted it to have, like I said, a little bit of color and shading. So, all right, and then I'm also going to be using, this is Dahlia Purple 1009. The other one was 1007. So they probably work together quite well. So you can see one's got more of a red, a purple, and the other one is more of a blue. But I'm only doing that because I'm trying to match up the colors of my paper. So you can actually do the same kind of thing when you go to color your wings. If you want to complement, you can go ahead and color in based on what paper you use. The next thing I'm going to use is, and I should really have sharpened it, is powder blue. And the reason I like powder blue a lot is it actually blends in the colors, and it does also add a little bit of blue. And because I've got the blue and the selvage patina up above, I decided, and this is part of the wing, I might have to add a little bit more of the purple to that. Anyway, I decided to add the blue. It's not exactly what I did in the first one, which pretty much is what I always do. Things change. I don't like everything to be exactly the same. Similar maybe, but not exactly the same. So that's kind of blending in. I need to add a little bit of purple up there. Oops. I'll blend it back out. Okay, so in keeping with what I have done on here, I'm also going to add this to her flower color, the darker purple. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to add some of our sparkle pen. And I'm going to be doing that along these edges. Let's see if you can see that a little bit better this way with the light. You can put it wherever you want to on your also know if I have my other light on, you would see this a lot better. Hold on. Yeah, you can see. If I show you the glimmer of it, it's really pretty. So whoever gets it can enjoy the sparkle. Okay. So that will be our fairy. She has a little bit of sparkle in her wing, and we have sparkle down here in our dandelion. So, and you can even see them now up there in the little seeds. So I'm going to go ahead, and now we're going to get the inside together. Okay, so I've kind of got this set up. I'm showing you how I will only be using half of this card as well. So I know that I need to consider placing my stamps based upon that. And the reason I say that, in order for this to stand up, I need to have this dandelion halfway, because I'm going to end up putting that gem there to be my stopper so that it will stand up. You can see that. So, like I said, basically it's just about halfway. And again, you can measure that, whatever card you're doing. And in this case, I wanted my dandelions to go in 2 different directions. And like I said, for this especially, I wanted to be able to get that so that it would stop it halfway. And it needs to go up just a little bit. And you can use anything for the stopper. You could even use your sentiment. And you've probably seen that before with these easel cards. They just have raised up their sentiments, and that works too. I'm just wanting to go with the theme of the dandelions because I used them on top. So again, I'm going to be using the Morning Mist because I'm staying with that whole entire theme, and that means I will also be embossing the end of this dandelion and coloring it in. And you have seen both of those techniques, so I won't be doing that right now. All right, I'm going to add just a little bit more ink because I want to keep it a little bit wet enough for when I put the embossing powder on. Okay, that's good. Now on the other side, and keeping in mind, I'm also going to be putting a sentiment right above this. So it's going to go like that. And I didn't talk about the sentiment, but I can go ahead and talk about that sentiment in a minute so you can see what I'm doing. I am going to be using, I can't remember what I used. Oh yeah, Thinking of You today, but you could use any of these. This is also new. That will be released. This is from the new release. Let me pull that. Well, I don't know what I do with the card, but so you can see them. You will get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different sentiments. And they are all individual, and you can use just one of them. And I'm happening to be doing Thinking of You today. So the Thinking of You today will go above there, and I will show you that. It'll just go right across, and it'll look really good. But you can use any of those sentiments there. All right, let's go ahead and get that stamped up. And I am not going to be putting the sentiment on until I get both of these embossed, the flower part. Okay, whoops, I need to put a little bit more down there. All right. Here we go. All right, so I am going to show you really quickly just where I put the embossing powder. so you understand, which I don't think it's too hard. Oops. All right. So what I do, I always keep in mind what I don't want to be on there. So I just want it to be on the flower part and how it's got to come off. So it's not getting on the other parts. You just got to be careful. And then I have that on there, so I'm going to go ahead and heat and bust them. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I stamped that little sentiment really quickly. And it just fits right across the top of that dandelion. There we are. Perfect. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and get the pieces together to make the easel. Okay, so now I have the two pieces that are going to be going on the easel part, but what I did was I measured in half, just like I said, and then I matted them and made sure that the mat is the same size all the way around, so it will be symmetrical. And then the other thing that you can notice is just what I said to you, is that when I went to stamp the dandelion seeds, I did end up having to cut it in half. So my suggestion to you, if that does bother you, is to wait to stamp your dandelion seeds after you have matted and cut this in half. But as far as I'm concerned, it looks like it's continuous, but once it's open, you're not going to really see that top piece, but it still looks like it's a part of it. So the other thing was I did make mine a little bit too, my card base a little bit long, so I will be trimming that off to make it all square. Well, it's not going to be perfectly square, but it will be so that it looks like it's not too long on one side. Let's just put it that way. So that is set and ready to go. And I'm going to go ahead and put that on to show you. And like I said, it is really important to make sure you line that up with the one on the top. And that one up at the top has not been put on yet. So now I need to make sure it's lined up with the one on the bottom. Whoops. Nice if my tape would work. Here we go. Sometimes my tape gets stuck. There we go. Alright, and this goes this way around at the top. We get that all balanced up. And I'm going to get this cut so that it is the same on the other side. And that way I know how to put the piece underneath. So I'm going to go ahead and get the piece underneath put on. My cheek gun is a little squeaky. Alright, so this has to go at the bottom. And I'm just going to be lining that up. Okay. So now what I need so that this will have a base is I need to put that gem right there. And I will be putting these gems in all of the dandelions on here so that it is cohesive. And I usually let this sit before I really make it an easel because the glue on this needs to sit for just a little bit. But that's what will happen, is that will sit like that on there. Just like that. And I'm going to go ahead and put the centers on those as well. Oops. There we sew all the dandelions on. Now, for the whole reason we made this card to begin with is our cute little fairy letter. And all I'm going to do with the fairy letter is I'm just going to do some, I'm not going to, I have to make sense to you so you understand. This part is going to sit up, so don't put any glue on that. Just put glue towards the bottom. And that's all you need to do, and I'll show you what I mean. We only need glue at the very bottom here. Okay. And you just figure out like where you want that to sit. And you glue that down. Okay. So then we'll be finished with our card. And that's all we need to do. And I hope you enjoyed that tutorial today. Thanks for stopping by again. And I will have the supplies I used in the description below. And I'm going to have to show you again how this looks. And that's the inside. And there's plenty of room for you to write anything you want to up there as well. But it's just kind of a fun little card. So thanks for stopping by. Talk to you again soon.